urgent call for adult survivors of sexual assault to seek justice. One model and survivor is taking action to encourage others to come forward. Thanks so much for staying with us this afternoon. I'm Tamsin Fidel.
And I'm Erin E. LeBeau. The Adult Survivors Act is a New York State law that gives sexual assault survivors extra time to file a civil case against their abuser, no matter when it happened. Now, that deadline hits on November 24th of this year. Meanwhile, the organization Model Alliance is dedicated to making sure people speak up.
Yeah.
Maybe you pretend it didn't happen.
Because you want to be a professional.
Because you don't want to be difficult.
And you need the work.
Except what happened
Matters.
Now we get to decide the terms, thanks to a new law called the Adult Survivors Act.
Sarah Ziff is the founder of Model Alliance and also a survivor herself. Sarah, thanks for being with us this afternoon to talk about this.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you know, it's a really powerful PSA you just released. What was the inspiration behind that?
Thank you so much. Well, I come to this work having worked as a model myself for many years, and I'm also a survivor, and so for me it's personal. I was scouted at 14 years old in New York, and I worked as a face of big brands like Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger, but I also experienced the pitfalls of working in a largely unregulated industry where sexual abuse is pervasive.
So this is very much personal for you, but you launched Model Alliance back in 2012, a full decade before the Adult Survivors Act was signed into law here in New York. So what led you to create this organization at that time?
Well, it was clear to me that there was no support for people in my community who are mostly young women and girls, often immigrant, often, here in the city by themselves without any real support system. And they're put in these predatory situations where they're shooting with photographers who might be, much older, or brands that are, powerful, and there wasn't a place to go to report concerns. And so the first thing the Model Alliance did was to set up a support line where we hear every day from models and creatives and people who aspire to work in the industry about a range of concerns.
It's so important to have a safe place for these people to go. So why is it important to you that survivors speak out against their abusers?
We've been trying to work to regulate the industry for a long time, and I think that the Adult Survivors Act is one small step towards creating the change we want to see. It really creates a unique opportunity for survivors to take their power back, and it can be a scary step to try to pursue justice, but people should know that they're not alone.
Let's talk a little bit more about that. You've been encouraging people to speak out and have a safe place to do so, but what are some reasons that you find that people do not speak up?
I think it's a combination of factors. Often there's deep trauma. There can be a fear of retaliation by someone's employer. Often there's financial dependence, and so people are not in a position to speak out at the time of the abuse. Often it can take months or even years to feel comfortable to come forward.
What would you say if you needed to encourage somebody to speak out against their abuser, but they were scared to do so or didn't know how to do it?
Well, I think it's important to seek a safe channel to report abuse. We offer a support line at the Model Alliance for people working or aspiring to work in the industry, and we refer people to trusted attorneys who can counsel them on next steps.
So you're very familiar with the industry. Do you think the culture surrounding modeling actually puts more people at risk?
Well, I think the culture has shifted with Me Too, and I think that there's people feel more comfortable talking about issues of sexual harassment and assault, but we haven't seen a meaningful change, structural change. So making sure that people have basic rights and protections on the job. Modeling is a job, and like anyone who works for a living, people should be treated fairly. And that's why looking towards prevention of this kind of abuse, we've introduced another bill, the Fashion Workers Act.
All right, Sarah, thank you so much for everything that you're doing for people out there and for people to be able to speak up. I know it's not an easy topic, but certainly an important one that we want to talk about here as well. So thanks for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
All right, you can find out more about Sarah's organization by going to modelalliance.org. And if you'd like more, to read more about the Adult Survivors Act or to start your own legal journey, you can visit safehorizon.org.